Welcome back. He's been on the run since March last year. He is dangerous. Your channel has been following the search of dangerous Australian paedophile Paul Allen, known by several other names. But his victims are speaking out and recounting tales of horror. This on a day the Supreme Court wrapped the government for what can only be described as a pathetically slow response by the system in place.
वो लोग जो ताता हमारे इधर आते थे एमएजी विलेज में ताता आते थे वो वही सिर्फ कहते थे आओ यहाँ पे आओ हमारा काम आओ मैं तुमको पैसा दूंगा.
As raw as wounds can be.
सुबह बोले थे और नाइट को जब खाने के बाद बुलाते थे. खाने के बाद सब लोग सो जाते थे अपने अपने घर में. उसके वो टाइम में वो लोग बुलाते हैं. जब कोई भी नहीं दिखता है वो टाइम में वो कहते थे कि आ जाओ हमारे रूम में. तो जो नहीं जाएगा उसका पनिशमेंट सुबह से लेकर शाम तक काम करेगा. खाना ही नहीं दे.
Defiled, humiliated, scarred at the hands of a notorious pedophile, Paul Allen.
Mothering children in need. Now that seems to have been the motto of this orphanage, but instead it turned out to be a house of horrors for children who over a period of a decade were abused by Paul Dean, who lived here in the Meg village on the outskirts of Puri.
Paedophile, 65-year-old Paul Dean, alias Paul Allen, has been on the run since March last year. Having jumped bail, he's considered to be extremely dangerous and a master of disguise.
When I filed my allegation, I questioned children, and they all knew. All the children and the staff knew what Professor was doing, except me, because he said to everyone, don't say a word to Amma. Otherwise, he treated them. He was nasty with them. He was beating them.
Mary Ellen Gerber, the one who complained against Dean, has made it her mission to see this monster behind bars. Fortunately, the Supreme Court today took notice of the rampant sexual abuse of young children in the country and the government's apathy.
The pressure is now on the government to act to the earliest. The Supreme Court today came down heavily upon child abuse and trafficking, asking the government to put an end to this horrific menace.
From a surgeon to a priest to a Swami, Paul Dean has operated under several names. And those tracking him believe Paul Dean may now be clean-shaven and well-groomed and right in our midst, posing as a tourist. But without a passport and a visa, the pedophile can't go far. So if you have any information on this man, please call the numbers on your screen. With Bureau Inputs, Vikram Sawant, Times Now.
If you've seen Paul Allen, that's his picture. We'll also show you his other pictures as we debate this whole big subject of why we have allowed our own country to become a global center for pedophilia. I'd like to welcome on the show this evening Shireen Miller, is Director of Advocacy and Policy of Save the Children. We have with us Majid Memon, who has handled the Duncan Grant case in the past. We have with us Nicole Menezes, Deputy Director of Childline. Anuja Gupta is founder and executive director of the Rahi Foundation, and Syed Tariq is a criminal lawyer who is involved in assisting the Duncan Grant case. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in. First question I'd like to ask you, Shireen, what do you think is the problem? What is the are our laws the problem, or is the fact that we have the process?
Is that we do
the
not
process too long? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Can you hear me, Shireen?
Sorry, I couldn't hear very clearly.
Simply put, Shireen, I was asking you, what do you think is the problem? Why people like Paul Allen seem to get away?
Well, the problem is that we do not have effective laws in the country to protect children and to protect children from abuse, including sexual abuse and pedophilia. That is a very severe problem, and in addition, we have very high rates of child abuse in our country itself. In a study that was done by the ministry with UNICEF and Save the Children, it showed that 53% of children were sexually abused. But there isn't enough awareness of it, there aren't stringent laws, and there aren't any systems homes or protection services for children. And the community and families need to be much more vigilant and aware about the dangers that children face, because they are very easy prey for adults, whether they're from outside the country or even in their family. So children need to be more aware, the laws need to be there to protect them, and services need to be put in place so that children have somewhere to go and someone to report to where they feel safe if they are under threat or indeed when they are abused.
So there's one argument, Majid Memon, that the law is not harsh enough to be a deterrent. But the other fact is also, let's look at who's being abused. These are the poorest children. Children who live in orphanages and in shelters. The people who come here saying we will shelter you actually end up running these, the sex tourism industry, which abuses children. Now, simply put to you, Majid Memon, I have a bigger point, just very briefly. When people like you fight the Duncan Grant case, aren't you actually allowing these sex offenders to strengthen their position in India?
You see, Arnav, let me tell you that not merely the deterrent in law that could prevent this, more than that, the system needs a closer look. In a country like ours, where there is abject poverty, there are thousands and thousands of street children everywhere, including in Mumbai. These children find shelter home, some kind of, some houses which give them, 2 square meals and some shelter, some roof. But then they are exposed to, the accessibility of such foreigners who come for these kinds of sexual pleasure.
But Majid Memon, sorry, let's not blame the system, sir. Let's not blame the system. Let's look at the way the system is being operated. Now, if you help Duncan Grant to get away, he wouldn't have got away in his own country. If you help him to get away, then a Paul Allen will come in the future and quote the Duncan Grant case. You see, all of this is linked in a way, isn't it?
Anna, with respect, I must tell you, we can't individually we can't take up. Duncan Grant may be innocent. We can't say that. You see, it all depends upon each case. If somebody is falsely involved, he may get out of the court. That's not the principle. The principle is that unfortunately in our country, these foreigners have easy access to these vulnerable children where they are kept. It is not properly managed. Why is there no accountability? Why should children be exposed to such people?
My question is that let me take that. I want to get in Anuja's voice on this as well. We keep blaming the system. That's all right, but this same system, Anuja, 2001 Paul Allen commits a crime. 2008 he commits another crime. He has not even been followed up, and now he goes on the loose. He has not even, Majid Memon, been interrogated once. What is the guarantee that he will not, as we are broadcasting this tonight, be out there looking for his next victim? We've allowed him to get away with that. So it's not the system, it's the process. Anuja, let me get your take on that.
Yeah, the problem is that there is such a deep-rooted denial to actually acknowledge the gravity of this problem. Unless we really say that there is child sexual abuse happening, pedophiles actually function in a very, very known manner. There is no, mystery around how pedophiles function. So to say that a certain person may not be a pedophile after he's caught is ridiculous, because you can find evidence of pedophilia of people who keep records. Pedophiles are found near children, they are found in jobs that bring them close to children, they are located in orphanages, they are found in beach areas and areas where tourism is very high. So if you actually want to catch pedophiles, it is not difficult to do so, but we need very, very stringent laws, and we need to acknowledge that pedophile and child sexual abuse exists in our country, and we must fight it on war footing because it is rampant. The government study shows 53.3%. Our own experience shows it's actually as much as 75 to 76% that is happening within homes, within institutions, on the street, just everywhere, and we have to acknowledge that it exists and it has to be fought in war footing.
Absolutely.